of yesteryear were on the 12th of Nisan. Yud Bet Nisan marks the Hilula of a really great famous rabbi. His name was Harav David Chaim Pardo, Zecher Tzadik Libracha, one of the great rabbis of his time. He was born in English year 1718, passed away in 1790 on the 12th of Nisan, naturally in Jerusalem. He would have been approximately, this we're talking about 235 years ago approximately, here from the time of recording. He was around 72 years of age when he passed away. He going to become one of the great Parshans with regards to teaching, educating about Chazal, about the great rabbis. He become a Rosh Yeshiva and a Posek and a singer, very much a composer, a Torah composer in of itself. Let's explore a few of the highlights of the great rabbi's life. Now, he was born in the area of Venice. This was obviously a very prestigious place, I think, as I say, situated more in the northern part of Italy, and at that point in time there was a very great Jewish community over there. His father's name was Rabbi Yaakov, I believe, and very much famous family, I believe, happened to be in that specific vicinity in himself, and much can be said within regards to the greatness. His father was a member, I think, of the rabbinical let's say dynasty, and a grandson of Rabbi Yosef Pardo, who would serve as a rabbi in Venice and also in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, respectively, and was also reported over to have been a descendant of Rav Shmuel Abu Hab, another great rabbi who we've spoken about before, the author of the Devar Shmuel and the Sefer HaZichronot, respectively, and one of the great leaders of his time, and a good friend of Rav Moshe Zakuta and Zachut, as you could say, really great rabbis. His brother was great rabbi also, Rav Avram Pardo, I think, and he wrote in the introduction to his book, I think the book was called Maskil David, the bountiful relationship that they had within regards to the greatness of the wisdom and the greatness of the person in of itself. So much more can be related within regards to that. Now, I believe his father sadly passed away while he was quite young age. It was reported over, and yes, that was obviously a tough upbringing from that stance in of itself. And yeah, so I think he would actually learn Torah, and especially I think close to Rabbi Yaakov Belilus, if I'm not mistaken, one of the rabbis of Venice. And it's yes, that is so much you can relate over within regards to him. I think at that point in time there was, you could, let's just say, there was a lot going on in Italy. It was, let's say, especially in the 1700s in Italy, was a golden age of Torah learning over there at that point in time. It was a time period where there was a great amount of Torah, and already related over inside this series already about many of the great Italian rabbis, especially of that day in the 1700s, 1800s, respectively. And okay, yeah, so let's just go back onto the topic over here, which we could say much more about it. I think he would study Torah under the auspice of Rav Shlomo Zayman of Lviv, I think, who would emigrate actually to Turkey at a later stage. So that was another interesting, let's just say, a tidbit of the greatness of the Torah learning that would actually go on there. I think a yeshiva will be opened, let's just say, during that time period, I think inside the city. Among others, there was close connection with Rabbi Chaim Yitzchak Musafia, also Rabbi Yaakov Ram Yonah. And these were, I think, great judges at that point in time in Venice, respectively. Rav Shabtai David Ventura was another great rabbi. I think he was in connection to, and he was actually a great rabbi in the area of Split, I think modern-day Croatia, respectively, and known for the Nahar Shalom book, I think, on the code of Jewish law. And Rav Abraham Pinso, he had a connection to, another great rabbi, great Torah author. Now, it's actually interesting. I think he had connections very heavily with the Balkan countries, especially with, let's say, Serbia, modern-day Serbia, the old Yugoslavia in itself. And I think Rabbi Shlomo Shalem, a great rabbi, would have been in the premiership of the chief rabbi position in Serbia. Actually, rabbi we spoke about only a couple of weeks ago, would leave to Amsterdam. He would be offered to become the rabbi of the Portuguese community over there. And I think this was a prominent position at that point in time, Portuguese community over there. And I think at that stage in time, Rabbi Shlomo Shalem was the chief rabbi of Serbia, of Belgrade, at that point in time, and would I think, be working in and out, especially even in the Bosnia countries in himself of Sarajevo, various different possessions. And I think he would receive eventually to be appointed the city of a specific place in Sarajevo for 9 years. And over there, at that point in time, he would have close connection with Rav Shabtai Ventura, and he would establish takanot, I believe, various different enactments inside the city, or found Torah institutions in the area, charities, societies over there. A yeshiva will be opened. He would help with the University, and many all throughout the country would actually come to study Torah. And I think many of his books would be printed during that time period, and he would compose various different piyutim and tefillot and prayers respectively. Now, it's interesting. I think at one stage he would travel to Livorno in order to print one of the books. Remember, we spoke about Livorno, its day was one of the great publishing and printing houses over there. And he would meet with the famous Chida, Rabbi Chaim Yosef David Azulay over there. I think he himself was came on that trip of the Hebron Kollel, one of the 4 holy cities of Israel. Hebron is, people used to have Shluchei Rabbanan, travelers, great rabbis who come to meet other communities while raising funds. He would come close to the Chida, study Talmud and Halacha with him, reported over. And so that's interesting. I believe his son, Rav Avram from Pardo, would actually get married to Rabbanit Simcha, who happens to be the daughter of the Chida, which is very interesting. He would stay, while he was in Livorno, he would meet other great rabbis, including the famous Rabbi Yom Tov Al-Ghazi, who would become a Rishon LeZion, a chief rabbi of Israel, and Rabbi Yaakov Azan, and various other different Shluchei Rabbanans, interesting enough. And would have meetings with other sages all throughout the land of Israel. And he himself spoke and related over, I believe, how much people want to actually come to Israel. And I believe he would meet other dignitaries over there. And in Belgrade, he would meet various different emissaries. I think that would actually come in from Tiberias, including Rabbi Chaim HaKohen Dweck, reported over. Itself. So he would leave, I think, in Bosnia, those different Balkan areas, and begin a journey back to Israel, I think in the year 1781. And he would settle in 1782 in Jerusalem, and was invited to serve as a member of the court of the Maharit El-Ghazi, I believe, another very famous great rabbi we were talking about before. And I think he was close with other great rabbis, including Rabbi Avigdor Azriel, who happened to be the author of the Zimir Haaretz book. And very much close relationships with many of these great rabbis. Now, I believe his wife's name was Bianca, if I'm not mistaken, and they would have 3 sons, including Rabbi Yaakov Pardo, Rabbi Yitzchak Pardo, and Rabbi Avram Pardo. I believe them all named after the 3 Avots, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And as we stated before, Rabbi Avram would actually get married to the daughter of the famous Chida. Very interesting. Now, he himself passed away, who we're speaking about today, Rav David Chaim Pardo. I believe he was about 72, 73 years of age. He will be buried in Harazai Zaytim, in the Mount of Olives burial plot over there. Now, he wrote some great Torah works. Let's look at some of the compositions that he wrote. It was very much interesting, including the Chasdei David, which is a perush on the Tosefta, a perush on various different Tosefot. Very much I recommend everyone to look into that. Sifrei Debei Rav, which is a perush on Sifrei, I believe. Very, very, okay. And then there was a Maskil David, which I spoke about at the beginning. Perush on Rashi, I believe, on the Torah, respectively. Shoshanim David, which was on the Mishnah. And then there was a Korin Nadli, I hope I pronounced that correctly, which was on the Bartanura, I believe, the Tosfot Yom Tov and the Ramaz, respectively. And remember, we've mentioned before on many occasions, Rav Moshe ben Mordechai Schut, great rabbi, wrote that book, so he would write, I believe, commentary based on that. Then a Michtam LeDavid, which was a shoot, Sheilot and Shivot, question answers book on the code of Jewish law, Shulchan Aruch, which was printed in Saloniki in Greece, respectively. Then the Menatzeach LeDavid, which was, I think, put into 3 ma'amarim, let's just say. It was on various different sugyot topics in Talmud, respectively, printed in Saloniki, in the Etaf Kuf Chaf Hey, the Mizmor LeDavid. Another great one, which was based on Yoredeya in of itself. And then the Chukat Pesach, which is dinim and tefillot and prayers and laws connected to the month of Nisan. Here we are in the month of Nisan. I believe there was various other books that would actually get printed after he passed away, if I'm not mistaken. And we could talk about more about the poems and the tefillot that he actually composed of, because he was a poet. He was one of the great poets, within regards to some of the great bakashot in Edut Mizrach liturgy actually would come actually from him, if I'm not mistaken. And it just shows the greatness and broadness of the famous rabbi, which is adapted, I think, in maybe some of the Sidurim, if I'm not mistaken. And it was printed, I think, by his student, Rabbi Elisha Havilo, another great rabbi. I think in the Sefer Shvat Rebevim, if I'm not mistaken, which was printed, I think, in Livorno at a later stage. It's reported over that there was a famous miracle that happened in Purim Katan on the 7th of Adar. And I leave everyone connected very much to Rabbi David Pardo in that point. I will leave everyone with some homework to actually look about what that was about. And please don't forget to light candles in his memory. The 12th of Nisan is his Hilula, one of the great rabbis. A rabbi, he worked also in Sarajevo, in Split, in Croatia. In fact, we haven't spoken about many rabbis actually worked in Croatia, respectively. He had various great students, Rabbi Avram Yonah, rabbi we spoken about before, Rabbi Avram Pinso, rabbi we mentioned about, and he was close to the Hida, with Marita Al-Ghazi, another great rabbi, and another great rabbi, Rabbi Avram Pinso. He was very much so. And please don't forget, 12th of Nisan is his Hilula. Friends, we're a community here. We're learning about the great Oriental rabbis of yesteryear. Now, if you're related to any of these great rabbis, please send me an email. I would love to hear more. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe to the channel now. And if anyone's interested in watching these videos, share the videos to those people respectively. It's actually interesting because in the month of Nisan, he passed away 3 days before Passover. He was actually born on Rosh Chodesh Nisan. It was reported over in English year 1718, so very much connected to this month over here. So on that note, I wish you all Chag Sameach, because it's Pesach only in a few days' time. And watch over the previous videos we've done. And please like and share the videos. Wishing you all well. Take care and be well.